Hello, Redefined Woman Network. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your facilitator, Tashana Taylor, and on today, we will hear from none other than Renita Hall Crump, and she is going to share with us how do we redefine in our grief. So thank you for those that are watching. I will say that if you are leaving comments, you will have to allow access through StreamYard so that we can see those comments. I will go back after the video is complete and answer any questions or comments in the event that I can't see it. So I just wanted to give you that before we get started. So let me go ahead and begin, and I'm going to read a little bit from her bio. So Renita Crump is a certified life coach professional and a public speaker who promotes hope. She is also CEO and owner of Visions Transitional Life Coaching. Renita was called over 11 years ago after her husband passed away to utilize her gifts of discernment, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge concerning grief and loss. In addition, she has been called most recently to address change due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Renita walks alongside of women who want to develop a successful plan that will allow them to transition into healthy thinking and a progressive lifestyle as they overcome grief, loss, anger, and loneliness. She is also a board certified master mental health coach. When Renita is not conferring with and encouraging her clients, she is tending to her garden with her grandson and working on her book or watching her favorite baseball team. Renita can be reached at visionsoflifecoach1@gmail.com. So welcome, Miss Renita, to the Redefined Woman Network on today. So tell us, how should we redefine as we are dealing with grief?
Well, the best way to do it is through prayer and to be led by God to make your own new normal. When we're grieving a loss, and it doesn't have to be of a person, it can be a job, a car, a pet, whatever you had, and you've lost it. You grieve it. So we're thrown into a new normal, and that's a cliche these days. Oh, you're in your new normal. You're in your new normal, but what you need to do is define your new normal yourself. Make it yours, and don't fall into the habit of doing this, doing that because someone else has done it or you've read a book on how to. You have to make your new normal yours. And the best way to do that is on your knees in prayer. You speak to God, He'll speak back to you.
All right. So share with us, you mentioned that we have to define our new normal. How
Mhm.
does that relate to the pandemic that we just experienced in 2020?
Well, we have to set new boundaries. We have to make new goals. We have to cut out some things. We've been forced in this pandemic to cut out things in our life that we can no longer do. Visit, hug, kiss, hold hands, linger in the grocery store, go to a movie. We've had to cut all of these things out, so they need to be replaced with something of value to you and something that's going to bring you a little bit of joy, even though there's not much joy during these times. You know,
Okay.
um, there are 7 stages of grief that we go through, and I'd like to just briefly give them to you because often when we're grieving, we don't know sometimes what's wrong with us. And we feel like the young folks say some kind of way, and we don't know what's going on inside of us, why we're thinking this, why we're behaving this way. Well, 9 times out of 10, you're in one of the stages of grief. And the first one is shock. That's a feeling of disbelief. You may experience numbness or even an emotional paralysis because you don't believe that you've lost this person or this particular thing. The next one is denial. Something can happen to a coworker at work, and by the time you get home, you find out that coworker has passed away, and you can't believe it. We just had lunch together this afternoon. We're going to meet for coffee in the morning. I don't believe it. Denial. Okay. Um, Anger. That's when your feelings and emotions start to bubble up in you. Simply put, you get angry. You can get angry with God. You can get angry with yourself because you believe there's something more that you could have probably done to avoid this situation. And you can be angry with the person that's left you or the circumstances that have made you lose whatever it is you lost, your home. You can be mad with the mortgage company. You can be mad with the man who came to repossess your car. So there's anger. After that, there's a stage that I say it's very dangerous. It's the bargaining stage where you say, well, if you bring this person back to me or you heal this person, I promise. And most promises are, I'll be in church every Sunday. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. And that's dangerous because we can't bargain with God. We can't do it. He's not going to allow us to do it. But we're in a situation of desperation at that time when we're grieving and we go through loss. And the next one that's associated with anger, because you find people that are angry, they are usually depressed. So depression is way up there on the list. And you mentioned, Coach Tashana, COVID-19. Since COVID-19, um, depression has gone up among women about 34%. This is in 2020, and it's an epidemic to this pandemic. Many women are depressed, and then the stage is testing. We we become overwhelmed, so we try different ways to soothe ourselves. Well, I'm going to take a class, or I'm going to teach a class, or I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to start cooking more, or I'm going to go shopping, and I'm going to redecorate my house. So we start trying to find things to soothe us in our grief. And without a plan, and if it's not developed in your new normal, it usually doesn't work. We're just spinning our wheels. Because at the time, we are so out of touch we're out of touch with ourselves, you know. Um, so it's not easy just to focus on something to do without having thought about it and planned it out. It sounds very taxing, but it's what you have to do. My favorite thing to say is you have to go through to get out. You've got to go through these stages to get out. And there is no determining factor on how long each stage will last or whether or not it won't come back once you've been through it, because they're triggers. Let me go to the last stage. The last stage is acceptance. That's when you're ready to take ownership of it and you start to move forward. And by moving forward, I mean you define your new normal. You start making plans to do things differently. Fill that space in, that's not only in your heart, but in your surroundings. And that also takes planning. Most of us, I had written this down because I didn't think I would be able to remember it, is most of us, sometimes we rationalize our behavior based on what a situation was and not what it has become. So when we do change, we still have in the back of our mind that this thing or person is still here. And we say, oh, so and so would like this. Or I'm going to cook roast beef and carrots tonight. Subconsciously, that was their favorite meal. So we have to really stay in tune to ourselves. It's good to journal during this time so you can look back and see the strides that you have made and also identify your triggers. When my husband and I were music lovers. He had a beautiful voice. He loved to sing. All the Motown, the dramatics, the spinners. And every time I heard those songs on the radio coming home from work, I lost it. because that triggered the times that we had a Friday night party. My husband, my daughter, and I, we played music all night. We danced. She can tell you the hits from the 70s better than I can. And that's what we did. So those were triggers for me. So I had to get to a point where I had to just completely stop listening to that type of music. Now I'm okay.
That's real good. You mentioned identify your triggers. You made me think about a time where I remember I got my very first apartment, and there was a song by Blackstreet that was playing, and my dad was there, and I was cooking him dinner, and he said, "Come on and dance with me, girl." And I did, not knowing that I couldn't dance, but I just, took advantage of the opportunity. And I'm so glad that I did, because who knew 5 months later after that event that my father would pass away. And so it's like, and it's been over 20 years that he's passed away, and I can still hear that song, and it takes me back to that moment in my living room where we danced. And so that was a trigger, although it doesn't bother me like it used to when I hear the song. Because when I used to hear the song, I would actually turn the song away, because then as soon as I turn it away, I'm boohoo crying. Well, I'm past that now. Like you said, I'm at that acceptance stage where I've accepted it. And I even remember, saying that a couple of times myself, like when my mother passed away and my grandmother passed away. God, if you would just do this, or, you would bring them back, I promise you I'm going to do this, thus and so. And you know what? And some of the promises that I made, I didn't do it. It was just because I was in my emotions. I was in that moment. And so that's good, that you talk about identify those triggers. And so let me ask you this. So what should a person say to someone who is in their grief? Because sometimes we can say the wrong things and it's not the appropriate words, because sometimes we don't know what to say, or we don't know where they are in their grief process. So what do you suggest that we should say to people so that we're sympathetic, empathetic, and understanding, but we're not being callous?
Well, I'll tell you, there's more not to say. There's more of what not to say than there is to say.
Okay.
And I'm going to run you through those real quick. These are not the correct things to say to someone who's grieving. Oh, they're in a better place.
Ooh,
No,
good.
the better place would have been here with me.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
Just stay busy. Time will pass. Just stay busy. I also tried that, like to wore me out.
Right.
I'm on committees at church. I'm at church, but I ain't in church because I'm too busy at church. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Huh?
I get it.
Yeah. So they're better off. Lost my train of thought. Time heals all. Just give it time. You don't know how much time it's going to take me. And I'll tell you, the more time I'm sorry, my gardener just showed up. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. The more time that you invest with someone and in a relationship, the deeper your grief is going to be. The more love that's there, the more deepness in your relationship that exists. That's how you'll experience a deeper grief based on the love that you've had for that person.
Okay.
And what else is not to say? Keep busy. Time will change things. And please don't ever walk up to a person and just grab them and hug them like, oh, I'm so sorry. Don't do that. Because you don't know how delicate their heart is and where their mind is in this whole process. And they may want to break down, but they don't want to break down in the middle of a foyer at a play, or a middle of walking out of church. So don't think you can hug someone to make them feel better. Don't walk up and pat them on the back. Sometimes that can be kind of eerie,
Yeah.
That. And another thing is ask for permission. If you just feel the need to give someone a hug, ask for permission. Is it okay if I hug you? Is it okay if I take your hands? Is it okay if I just draw you into me and tell you that I love you? But please, please get their permission first because all those could be triggers. Just a touch. A touch brings back the loneliness. It brings back the hurt. It brings back the anger. It can bring back the depression. It can bring back the bargaining. It can bring back all of these stages of grief. So you just want to say hello and keep it moving. That's it. And the person will let you know if they want to engage further in a conversation, or they may walk up to you and hug you based on where they are in their grief.
Mm.
And grief is God's way of letting us cleanse as we go through this mourning process. Read in the Bible, Jesus wept. Um, who else grieved? There's several others that went through grief. Who's the one who sat up under the tree and wished he could die? Is that Elijah?
Yes.
Yeah. So grief is a cleansing process. Don't be afraid of it. Don't let anyone tell you, well, you ought to be through with this in 6 weeks. The average time for grief to last, this is according to professionals, to therapists, for a spouse, 2 to 4 years. For a child, 6 to 8 years. And sometimes it can be longer.
Wow. You share some valuable nuggets. Thank you so much for what you shared. So, if there is someone that is interested in working with you in your grief coaching program, what does that grief coaching program look like? What all would they get?
Well, it's called Hope on the Horizon. When you wake up every day, you look out and rather see dim, dark depression, no hope. You look out further than that. You look beyond that and you see hope on the horizon. What the program that I have does, it's 30, 60, or 90 days. The first 30 days, we determine what stage of grief that you're in and what have you done prior. Have you been to a therapist? I am not a licensed psychologist or therapist. I'm a grief coach. Have you been to a therapist? Are you taking medication? All of these things need to be open and discussed. Then we find out what stage you're in. We'll go through these stages. You open up and tell me where you are, how you feel, and what's been going on in your life. Okay. The second stage, we decide what we're going to concentrate on first, what needs the most concentration. The third stage is combined with the second stage is we start working on your healing, your inner self, and to let you know it's okay to grieve, you're within your perfect right, but now you need to work on your new normal and totally accept it. If you can, some can't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm there to help help the ladies find out. I work with ladies. I don't work with men because their grief is totally different.
Okay.
We look back on what we don't have, what we've lost. Men look forward in their grief is what are they going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole different realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, if they want to get in contact with you, how do they find you on social media?
Well, they can go to my best thing to do is go to my Facebook page. It's Renita Crump. You can contact me on my email is visionslifecoach and the number 1 at gmail.com. I'm in the process of having a website set up. Haven't completed that yet.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So send me an email. I usually respond within 24 hours, or go to my page. Once you go to or send me a friend's request on Facebook. Send me a friend's request. under Renita Crump.
Okay, well, Ms. Renita, I really do want to tell you thank you for being here with us at the Redefined Woman Network and sharing with us, how to redefine our grief. You gave us the 7 stages. You even shared with us things of what not to say, because sometimes, we do mean well, but sometimes it comes out so wrong. And so thank you so much for being a part today. And again, y'all, if that's something that you are experiencing and you really need help, um, reach out to Miss Renita for assistance so that you can walk through the process and to know that you don't have to be in this grieving process alone.
And
My
I
name is,
also cover
I'm sorry, go ahead.
COVID-19, the grief through COVID-19, not just a personal or a tangible thing, but
Mhm.
COVID-19. That's real big right now for grief and loss, especially among women.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us on today. My name is Tashana Taylor. I am the facilitator of the Facebook group Redefined Woman Network. And join us on Thursdays as we will have different experts and different topics that we discuss, focusing on the total woman. We focus on the spiritual, the mental, the physical, the financial, ministerial, and entrepreneurial. Why? Because we as women wear so many different hats, and we don't want to lose ourselves with all of the different roles that we have to participate in on a daily basis. So thank you again, and you all have a wonderful day. Take it easy.